Hey everybody, welcome in to another episode of Triple Option Talk. We're going to go over what's coming up and what has happened last week. One of the biggest games of the year turned out to be one of the best games of the year played. It was absolute insanity. We had a major upset that could confirm my suspicion of Ole Miss missing the playoffs if you listen to week one. I did say that, and I still don't think a three-loss team is going to make it in the playoffs, and Ole Miss could fall under that category. Who knows? Cam Ward may win the Heisman. I may be right on that. All things that I'm just trying to say is I'm right. So we're going to get right into all of our predictions and everything we think about this past week. Hope you guys enjoy, but we're going to kick it off with Andrew giving us one of the first recap games of this week. Andrew, who do you have?
Well,
What
Jake,
happened
I
in
don't
Hottie
want.
Tottie land?
Yeah, I don't like to admit you're right, Jake, but what I'm about to say just points more towards your statement in that first episode. Kentucky did knock off the number 8 Rebels 20-17 on Saturday in Ole Miss's conference opener. Now, Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin did say in his statement that SEC opponents would test the undefeated Rebels in ways their non-conference opponents couldn't. And frankly, he was correct. Coming into the week, Ole Miss led the FBS in both points per game and total yards per game, and quarterback Jackson Dart led FBS in passing yards and ranked second in completion percentage. Now, because of this, it was imperative that Kentucky's defense performed well, and they did, especially with star cornerback Maxwell Harrelson injured. So, mind you, their star cornerback didn't play the game, and this is how the defense had translated. After the opening drive, that saw the Rebels drive down the field and punch in a 1-yard rushing touchdown in just over 2 minutes, the Wildcats were able to hold off the high-scoring offense for the rest of the first half and held a 10-7 lead midway through. And a large part of this effort consisted of the defensive line's ability to put pressure on Dart. So let's transition to that a little bit. Dart had only been sacked 6 times in 4 games coming into the contest, but the Cats got to him 3 times just in the first half. And senior defensive end Octavius Augstein recorded 2 of those sacks and also hurried or rushed one of Dart's throws one time, which led into a crucial third down misconversion. Now, junior defensive tackle and possible NFL first-round pick Don Walker also performed well, picking up 0.5 sacks and 1 tackle for loss. And the same defense that forced the number 1 team, Georgia, to punt 6 times came out in full force yet again. And if the defensive line can continue to pressure opposing signal callers, it might be a problem for future SEC opponents. Now, after a rough couple weeks in terms of Kentucky's passing game, Vandergrift improved his performance greatly against Ole Miss, completing 17 of 24 passes for 237 yards, which were all season highs. And junior receiver and Lexington native Dane Key caught 7 of those passes for 145 yards, keeping himself in the spotlight and continuing to just evolve as a fan favorite who can make big catches when most needed. So this is what I saw in my game before I take it to you, Chase. What I saw, Jake, and why I think this might be a big weakness for Ole Miss and why it could translate into 2 or 3 losses down the stretch, given their hard schedule, is that Jackson Dart cannot perform well under pressure. I don't know what went wrong for Kentucky in that game against South Carolina, but ever since that game, Georgia and this Ole Miss game, that defensive front looks like one of the best in the SEC. So don't be surprised to see Kentucky to continue to pull off more upsets like this. But Chase, take us to what happened in the midday slate of last Saturday.
Yeah, real quick, Chase, before you go into that, I want to ask a question to both of you. Do you think Kentucky should be ranked?
No, only because they had 2 losses, and one of those losses were to an unranked South Carolina. Now, if they go on a streak, and let's say in 2 weeks they're 5-2, then sure, put them in the top 25. But being just 1 game over 500, I think is going to keep them out of the rankings.
Yeah,
And the
go ahead.
I was gonna say the problem is their defense is carrying this team right now. Their
Yes.
offense, I still believe that offensive line is one of the worst in the SEC. We watched them get manhandled by South Carolina, manhandled by Georgia. Even Ohio gave their O line a rough time. And I think that's really been the killer against Kentucky. But I think if they had a better O line, this is a better Kentucky team than people think.
Yeah, I think this is going to end up being one of those things where the team is better than the ranking. And
Right.
Yeah.
because, I mean, they almost beat a number one team, Georgia, just a
Mhm.
couple of weeks ago, and then goes into Ole Miss in their SEC opener and it beats them. So,
Shit.
yeah, I think Kentucky is a lot better than what people think. I think the defense needs
Yeah.
to be there. Put some respect on their name. Put some respect on that defensive
They
name.
deserve respect for sure.
Yeah, I think Kentucky is
100%.
going to be an awesome team in a couple of years. But Chase, go ahead and jump into what your mid game was and your mid game recap.
Well, the unfortunate reality of the world we live in is not all these games are nationally televised anymore. This was a Peacock game, and for all the people who didn't have Peacock, you didn't get to watch this game, and it's a shame because I don't have
I got
Peacock.
Peacock.
I missed this entire game, but boy, what a game did we miss! Louisville, number 50 Louisville playing on the road against number 60 Fighting Irish. Notre Dame had that big win at the start of the season on the road in College Station at Texas A&M. They've been shaky since. They needed a big win, and this was a big win for the team. Now, heading into this game, my biggest concern was how is Notre Dame going to fare against a really good Louisville defense, especially with Riley Leonard, who's been really lackluster this whole season.
Yeah.
If you look at Riley Leonard's stats, he went 17 for 23 for 163 yards. Nothing too special, but that's not where Notre Dame won the game. Offensively, it was I'm forgetting the running back's name. This is awkward. Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love absolutely bullied that Louisville defense on the offensive side. But what really did for Notre Dame was on the defensive side where they forced 3 turnovers, the first 3 turnovers Louisville has ever seen all season. Their quarterback, Tyler So, went 88 straight passes without interception. Well, he threw an interception off a deflected pass, not necessarily his fault, but
It's
all
bound to
3
happen.
turnovers.
Yeah.
All 3 turnovers came in the first half. And that entire first half is what did it for that Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Because you look at Tyler So, he went 24 for 41, 264 yards. And by the way, Tyler So, I don't know if y'all saw it, had one of the most sexiest passes I've ever seen. It was in the fourth quarter to bring the game within 1 score.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember exactly who caught it, but it was like a Patrick Mahomes side that was absolutely beautiful. But
Very, very Mahomey, would you say?
Very all of my Mahomies. Shout out to all the Mahomies out there.
All the Mahomies out there. Yeah, that was for you.
It was very Mahomes indeed, but in addition to those 3 turnovers, Notre Dame's defense stepped up big time, holding Louisville to 1-5 on 4th down conversions, and the most crucial one coming up into the game. It was a 1-score game, 31-24. Louisville had a chance. It was 4th and inches. And then they had a delay of game penalty that pushed it to 4th and 5. Of course, they had to go for it. It was an incomplete pass. And Louisville's coach after the game said he gives all credit to that Notre Dame atmosphere. He said it's one of the loudest atmospheres he's been a part of. And, that's what ultimately got behind the Notre Dame team. It still wasn't a great game offensively. It was more of a defensive performance. But either way, a big top 15 win for Notre Dame as they proved to 4-1. And remember what happened when Notre Dame played Louisville last year. Louisville crushed Notre Dame at home, broke the hearts, but this time it was Jack Harlow and the Louisville Cardinal faithful that got their hearts broken. Louisville's still a great team. They're number 22. They play SMU this upcoming week, which is a very intriguing ACC matchup. But defensively, Louisville's still there. And take away those turnovers, this is a completely different game. But I do want to give credit to the Fighting Irish. A really big win for Coach Freeman. And I'm excited to see what this does to the Fighting Irish moving forward. But if you think this game was good, Jake, talk about one of the best games of the century that happened this past Saturday night.
This is game of a lifetime, by the way. This game just surpassed all understanding of what primetime football is supposed to be.
Man, and it didn't start out that way.
No.
It didn't start out that way. Like, this was the most viewed game, I think they said, in like recent history. Like, this is a number 3 against a number 4, or I'm sorry, number 4 and a number 2 matchup. And the first quarter, I'm watching this game. So like I had my setup to where I had the Georgia Alabama game on my main TV, and then I had a separate TV where I was watching the Braves, and then I was flipping back and forth in between Florida State and SMU.
Yeah, your setup was kind of nasty. That was like a B-dubs.
Dude, it was awesome. And I spent more time watching that Georgia Alabama game. The first quarter, Alabama was up in just the first quarter, 21-0.
Yeah.
So then I'm immediately going, this is going to be a blowout. This is going to be the craziest thing. I was texting both of you guys, and I'm like, I can't wait to talk about this because it's literally going to be like Georgia got blown out in Tuscaloosa. Here's the first thing that we got to realize. This Alabama team is just as strong without Nick Saban. So we were worried about that being a fact. Waving to my wife in the background. But we were all worried about that being a fact is like, there is no drop-off with Saban being gone. This Alabama team is just as strong. And you want to talk about the depth on that team? That's, what is he, 17, 18?
17 years old.
17-year-old freaking phenom. Dude, that kid is going to be disgusting in a couple
He's supposed to be in social studies class, and he's out here terrorizing a top defense.
He's supposed to be like throwing dodgeballs at people right now.
If they tackle him, it could be assaulting a minor. He's 17.
I mean, for real, like, was it Ryan Williams, that kid's name?
Yeah.
Dude, that kid is nuts. Like, how good he is, how good of a route runner, how good his hands are. It is just something like I haven't seen. But moving past the first quarter of absolute dominance, Alabama just kind of went quiet. They scored 9 points in the second quarter, 3 points in the third, and then 8 points in the fourth. But Georgia comes back 8 points in the third and almost 20 points in the fourth quarter.
Ridiculous.
Now let's jump ahead of that fourth quarter. Georgia reclaims the lead, which I did not think was possible. Georgia reclaims the lead with a absolute crazy bomb. Like, everything was landing. Georgia was up, and I'm like, oh my God, Georgia's going to come back and win. And then here comes Alabama with the haymaker to the 17-year-old Trent Williams, who does such an underrated, nasty, disgusting little move to get past both those defenders. Like, hats off to Jalen Milroe, hats off to Ryan Williams, and hats off to Kalen DeBoer and that Alabama team in Tuscaloosa. They have not just become a playoff contender, but they have now become a national championship contender.
Yeah.
When, honestly, I'm going to be real honest, like, I didn't think Alabama was going to be a top 5 team at the end of this because there had to be some fall off. Like, if you look at any history of any team where they have a new head coach, there's a learning curve. Take it from us. When we got Mike Norvell, there was a learning curve. But once they figured it out, that team became unbelievable. But the crazy thing about all this is there was no fall off. This team is 4-0. They're the number 1 team in the country, and they're going to run through the SEC, like it or not. So Alabama as the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed. They're going to have a bye.
And you said it, Jake, like the drop off that was completely expected became unexpected because, I mean, like you said, if you lose like any coach, especially a coach on the pedestal of Nick Saban, the drop off is supposed to be from here to like down here. Like, I was expecting Alabama to be like a 8, 9, maybe 10-win team.
Dude,
and the way they came out in that first half and responded to adversity, because you said it, Jake, Carson Beck fixed his mistakes in that first half. Georgia minimized the penalties, and Alabama got outplayed in that entire second half. Yet through it all, they were able to locate their top threat receiver, Williams, who cannot be touched. Like you said, Jake, juked out 3 of the top safeties in the entire nation in just one play to get. I mean, you had Alabama frat girls having a panic attack because they didn't know what was going on. They were like, oh my gosh, we just lost the game. But no, Alabama threw it all against one of the best defenses in all of college football, was able to get the job done after losing a big lead such as that. And it's incredible. And I mean, you got to give credit to Bama. They're proving themselves week in and week out that they are still Alabama. Like you said, Jake, like it or not, all the cousin lovers are still happy. So.
Yeah, and like I got to give it to Georgia too because they were able to fight and claw their way back to not only tie the game but to take the lead. So like that Georgia team is like, I'm no pun intended. There's still some dogs. Like they still have some dogs on that team that can really claw their way back. And I think this is not going to be the last time we see this matchup. I would love to see this matchup again. I would love for Georgia to lose like one or two more times to be a lower ranked team so that they can see Alabama and play them in a playoff game. Oh, that would be so good. It'd be so good.
Shoot, what about the SEC championship? This could be a legitimate rematch.
This could be an SEC championship matchup, 100%. I think Chase is regretting doing this recording in the office because there are 2 glass windows right in front of him.
You know exactly what's going on.
I know exactly what's going on. I'm an hour away and I know exactly what's happening.
I'm trying so hard to focus. But you
just have to know you guys just have to know our family and just how we are.
So I'm trying to stay focused, y'all. I'm sorry.
All right, we're going to draw focus back into – we're going to get past this week, as crazy as it was, as amazing as it was, and we're going to move into what is coming up. Andrew's got a game that he's going to go over. Chase has got one, and then I am going to go over the obvious game that we chose.
By the way, Jake probably knew exactly what was going on, by the way. This is our mom.
Andrew,
that's what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
Andrew's frozen right now, too.
Why is Andrew frozen?
Okay, I'm back. Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened. But yeah, going into next week, we've got a matchup that on the radar seems a little underrated. But after 5 consecutive home games and 3 straight victories, the number 10 Michigan Wolverines hit the road for the first time this season in a West Coast trip to the new Big Ten opponent, Washington at Husky Stadium at 7:30. Now, it's the first meeting between the Wolverines and the Huskies as conference opponents, but the second time the programs have faced off in the 2024 calendar year. Now, Michigan and Washington obviously met in Houston last year for the national championship game, which saw the Wolverines take the Huskies down by a lopsided 34-13 to claim their first national championship since 1997. Now, Washington, they entered the contest having sandwich losses to Washington State, Rutgers, and around a 19-point victory over Northwestern the past 3 weeks. So the Huskies outgained both the Cougars and the Scarlet Knights in those defeats, but were plagued by poor special teams play and an inability to just convert on 4th downs. So Washington boasts to the number 10 defense nationally in both points and yards allowed, and they're led by a quarterback, Will Rogers. And the Huskies rate number 21 in total offense. So the defense lacks, but the offense gains. But they have struggled to finish drives with touchdowns, ranking 89th in scoring with just 25.2 points per game. So that compares closely with Michigan's scoring output. As the Wolverines, they actually rank lower than the Huskies at 24.8 points per game. So the Wolverines, they rely heavily on their run game, as they average around 200 rush yards against just 115 pass yards per game. So Michigan will have to look to play into that strength against Washington, which ranks 51st in rush yards per game. So this is my big prediction for the game, aside from the score. We all know Khalil Mullings, how he's had a long-going streak this year of 100 yards per game. And Mullings, he's been consistent and he's been reliable, and it feels like a foregone conclusion that he'll rush more than 100 yards on Saturday. And although I think the safe bet is that he does it once again against Washington, my bold prediction is that it's Donovan Edwards who eclipses as the 100-yard rusher on Saturday. And I get that he hasn't looked as dominant as most of us thought he would prior to the season, but they will call in Big Game Don once again for a reason. And we're entering week 6. There's a lot of intensity in the Big Ten. As much as I want to pick Washington and get the redemption, I'm going to make my early pick. I think Michigan, because of Donovan Edwards, will win by 2 scores.
That's a fair pick. Now we'll get into our picks later in the episode, of course. Before then, the game I want to preview, I got my hoodie on. Clemson is coming in to Tallahassee, Florida to face our Florida State Seminoles. Now, I'm not only previewing this game because I'm a Florida State fan. There's more reasons to why I'm previewing this game. Now, entering this season, this was a highly anticipated matchup, and the reason being was DJ Ulue, DJ Uni to get a job, DJ Uni stopped on the ball, whatever you want to call him. He was supposed to make his revenge game against Clemson because we all remember he used to be a member of the Tigers. But, and this is pretty good news. I'm sorry, DJ. He has a pinky injury that's going to sideline him for 3 weeks at least, meaning Brock Glenn.
Hey, DJ can take his time. He can take his time.
Hey, go through it.
Don't come back too early. All right, we don't want you to re-injure that pinky. Take your time, big dog. Go through the PT and everything. Take your time.
Yeah, go through a whole year rehab if you have to, please. I just want you to be healthy.
We want what's best for you, DJ.
We do. This is in your best interest, DJ. To sit
of course.
and watch Brock Tober take the field. Now, we haven't seen too much of Brock Glenn, but what we do know is he is accurate. And the good thing about him, Florida State fans might see this and be like, oh, we are absolutely royally screwed because Brock Glenn's in the game. I disagree. I think Brock Glenn's going to come into this game knowing that he has nothing to lose, and he's going to put it all out on the field, and we might see this game get a little interesting. But here's the bad news for Florida State. We saw Clemson's first game against Georgia where they got absolutely shut out and averaging just 3.6 yards per play. And we didn't know what to make about this Clemson team. Well, ever since that game, Clemson has scored a whopping total of 165 points. They average 547 yards per game. That is 8.2 yards per play. And they have players like Phil Maffa, who is averaging 8 rush yards per carry, which is bad news for the Seminoles team, who has been absolutely horrible stopping the run. And then you have Cade Klubnik, who not only has been dominant over the air since that Georgia game, but he is a running threat as he has a couple of rushing touchdowns himself. We saw him have that big 60-yard rushing touchdown against NC State just a couple weeks ago. Now I'm going to throw back to what I said earlier. Florida State's rushing defense has been abysmal. Now, we already have the handicap with Brock Glenn playing quarterback.
What was DJ then? If Brock Glenn's our handicap, what's DJ?
I'm not calling that a
disability.
I'm calling that a blessing. What handicap? Come on, brother.
I'll put like air quotes over it because handicap, whatever. But the thing is, we don't know exactly how Brock Glenn's going to look. We don't know exactly what to expect. We already know that our receiving core has been a disappointment. Cough, 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 Morlock. We're looking at you who couldn't catch a cold and someone coughed right in his face. But it's on the defensive side of the ball that I'm more worried about because, like I said, Florida State averages about 165 rush yards per game, which is towards the bottom of the ACC. And when you have someone like Phil Maffa who averages 8 yards per carry, they can just run the ball all over us if they want to. They don't even have to worry about Cade Klubnik throwing the ball. But if you look at Clemson's defense, they average an even worse 185 rushing yards per game, which could be a big advantage for Lawrence Toafili to maybe have a breakout game this year and maybe help Florida State stay in the game. I don't know what to expect, but all I'm saying is we never know what we can see from Brock Glenn. If we can somehow figure out how to slow down this rushing defense, force Cade Klubnik to throw the ball a little bit more, and the Toafili can take advantage of a Clemson team that hasn't been great stopping the run either, this could be a little more interesting than we think. It's a night game at Doak. You never know what can happen any given Saturday. But before we make our game picks, Jake, what is your pick? What game are you going to preview for this upcoming week?
I'm going to go ahead and go to what college game day is going to be. This is going to be a new ACC matchup. The first time this has ever happened in ACC's history. This is going to be the undefeated Miami Hurricanes playing California. It's so weird seeing California in the ACC. I just can't it's just two different ends of the spectrum. But like,
how is a Pacific Coast team going to be in the Atlantic Coast Conference?
I don't know, but here we are. This is the reality. This is what we're in. But one thing I do want to say about the Florida State Clemson team, and I am going to pay due to Clemson here. Dabo Swinney is looking to get his record 174th win, which would surpass Bobby Bowden. Hey, I think history is going to be made at Doak Campbell Stadium, not for Florida State's sake. But, hey, congratulations, Dabo Swinney, if it does happen that way.
We can't let him take Bobby Bowden's record against Bobby Bowden's team.
So
that's just sacrilegious.
There's a little bit of history here, and there's a little bit of protection that we want to keep. We would love for you to get your 174th win in the ACC, just not tomorrow. But anyway, but we'll move on. Miami's going to be going to play California, an undefeated Miami with, I think, right now is the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, Cam Ward.
Yep.
Miami coming off of a very crazy win. I don't know if y'all actually watched that.
Gosh.
Man, they barely got away with it. And truthfully, I think it was a catch just because – and just in the rule of and they even said we have to define what a catch is. And for those who don't know, a catch is a catch. You have to have full control all the way down to the ground. And in my eyes, he did. And when he was on the ground, the ball got punched out. But the thing, and the rule is with college football, is the only way to overturn anything or overturn the call on field, there has to be undisputable evidence. And that is where I think this is wrong. I don't think there was undisputable evidence because even with the commentators, I think when they send stuff to New York to be reviewed, they need to listen to the commentators as well because they made some great points. If somebody is still confused on what they think the call should be, then it should stand for what it was originally. Undisputable evidence. Yeah, so I think undisputable evidence was kind of missed in that one. But as for this California game, you were playing a powerhouse California. You're playing an undefeated Miami team with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, potentially. I think California's got some great guys. I think they're going to give Florida State a hard time when they get to us. But I think Miami right now is looking too strong. I think they just look too good. I think Cam Ward is able to carry this team on their backs. I think this is a new Miami that we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Yeah.
It's a strong team. I'm not going to really dive too much into this because I don't think there's too much to dive into. Miami is heavily favored. You got an 80% chance of winning by fan vote. California, I'm not ruling you out. Anything can happen. I think Miami's just going to be a little bit too strong for you. And it's kind of hard not to sit here and just talk about Cam Ward, but the kid has been unbelievable.
We saw him make Heisman-worthy plays at the end of that game against Virginia Tech. But I also think that Virginia Tech game exposed a lot of weak points in that Miami secondary, especially in that defensive front, because Kyron Jones is able to use his feet a lot outside the pocket. I do think you put Miami on a minor upset watch. It is on the road against California. They almost upset Auburn there last year. It's going to be the first ever college game day ever in California's campus. And Marshawn Lynch is going to be there as a guest pick. It's going to be a hostile environment. I think Miami does come up with a win, but do expect California to make it a very, very close game yet again for the Hurricanes.
So the California defense has been the best part of the Golden Bears. But if you look back at the Virginia Tech Miami, or really all season, Cam Ward is just making the most of any situation. Shoot, you even saw him against the Hokies getting wrapped up by 3 defensive linemen, and he was still able to flip it out to the tight end who got a 30-yard run. That
was crazy.
And it's plays like that that makes a Heisman quarterback. Taking the situation you're given, taking the cards you're dealt, and still making the most of the situation. And that's what makes a Heisman quarterback. That's what makes this Miami offense so deadly. I do think California's defense might give them a couple issues. I just don't think there's enough offensively that can really counter what Cam Ward does. So I do give Miami the edge definitely, but I wouldn't be surprised if California makes it a better game than people think. Also, for people in California, game day starts at 3:30 in the morning. Since it's the West Coast, then students are going to be up at 3:30 in the morning for this game day. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Maybe, California's quarterback Fernando Mendoza may actually be able to take this. They have some good wide receivers. I can't think of this kid's first name, but his last name is Hunter. Naziah Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah, Naziah Hunter. Yeah, I think, there is an opportunity there for them to make this a closer game than what we all think it's going to be. And I don't think that's
Sure.
without the realm of possibility. You're at home, you have college game day, you're going to have a hype crowd, you're going to have Marshawn Lynch, who I really hope they have him driving the golf cart.
Yes.
Which I
Yes.
hope they do that.
They
Man, that
have
would be
to.
so cool. I
No,
would,
that
I
would
would
have
love
to.
that. So,
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
I'm going to watch the beginning of that game and then go to bed shortly after. So,
Same. Relatable.
As a
But-
brand of America.
But we're going to move into the rest of the games that we have coming up this week. We're going to go into our game picks right now. We're going to go through all the top 25. If you're out of the top 25, hate it for you, but we're going to move into what we think. So we're going to start with the first game, and we're going to rip through this really quickly. We got a game that's actually going to happen tonight. You have Michigan State playing Oregon. You have a 4-0 Oregon playing a 3-2 Michigan State. I'll make my pick right now. I've always loved the Spartans. I've always thought they've had a cool team. I've always thought they've had cool uniforms. Papa Meigs is a Michigan State fan, and I'm a big fan of him. But I am not a big fan of giving a pick wrong, so that's why I'm going to pick the Oregon Ducks. Quack, quack.
And you picked right, Jay. I'm gonna quack right back at you. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, he's been getting better each and every week. This game's gonna be in Eugene, Oregon. It's gonna be a night game. Michigan State, they lost to a Boston College team that was without Castellanos, their starting quarterback. I think Oregon has too much firepower. Give me the Ducks.
Chase, you quacking with us?
I'm quacking with y'all. I was a little concerned about Oregon's offense the first 2 weeks, but this past couple weeks against Oregon State and UCLA, both games on the road, their offense looked really impressive. Michigan State, there are some bright spots. It's not going to be enough to compete against the Oregon Ducks at night on the road. Oregon's going to get the win, and they're going to prepare for a big matchup against Ohio State next week.
Ooh, it's going to be a good game to talk about. All right, we're going to move into – I love this matchup. I think this is hilarious seeing how good this team is. You have an undefeated ranked 25 UNLV playing a unranked Syracuse. Now, I think Syracuse is falling under one of these things where I think the team is better than the record.
Yes.
I think Syracuse is a much better team than what people think. I think UNLV is a great team. I think there's a strong team. They've been in the new headlines of a lot of controversy, of a lot of NIL deals not being paid out. But it seems like that secondary quarterback who's had to step up, that kid is a dog. That kid is the real deal. But I think Syracuse is going to have enough to edge out and beat UNLV. Give me the Syracuse Orange.
How do you even do an orange?
Hey, Tim the Tad Man, I'm here for you, dog. Big Syracuse fan. He's a big
Is he
Syracuse
actually?
fan. Yeah, he is.
Did he graduate from there?
Hey, good for him.
I think he either went to college there or he grew up in the whole town. So,
Well,
Hey,
he looks like an orange, so I guess it makes sense.
Timmy, yikes. Hey, Tim the Tad Man, I got you, big dog. I'm picking Syracuse.
Well, Tim and Jake, we're seeing eye to eye right now because, Jay, I love your upset pick. Now, Kyle McCord, he's had kind of a resurgence year after all the naysaying comments we saw in the offseason after losing to Ohio State, where he was a starting quarterback because his daddy was a big booster member or whatever. But listen, I think you're right, Jake. The only loss from Syracuse came from a very misfortunate walk-off field goal against the Stanford Cardinal. UNLV, because of the loss of their starting quarterback, the loss of their running back, and a few of their injured offensive linemen, they did look good last week despite the losses. They're playing a much better team. They're gonna pull the lever in that to see if they can land on all sevens for the jackpot, but it's not gonna happen. The orange, whatever you just did, they're gonna come out alive. They're gonna come out alive, baby.
Yo, we're gonna clip this and we're gonna tag Tim the Tad Man and see if he responds.
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
You know what? But we're on a roll because Tim, Jake, Andrew, we're also seeing eye to eye. Now, the thing is, UNLV, they lost their quarterback because of not an ideal breaching negotiations, whatever the crowd that is. Kyle Williams was a backup who played against Fresno State. Well, they dropped 52 points on Fresno State. And Fresno State's not a team to mess around about. Now, Williams threw 3 touchdown passes, but he didn't throw the ball a lot. They mainly dominated the run, but I still think these losses are going to affect UNLV more than people saw in that Fresno State game, especially against the Syracuse Orange. where Kyle McCord has had a resurgence, like you said. I like a lot about that Syracuse offense. It's going to be a close game. Syracuse wins by 1 score, but they do get the win nonetheless against the 25th ranked Rebels.
Orange, baby.
Donsk. Love you, Timmy. All right.
All right,
Moving on
Timmy, I
to
guess.
Saturday, 7 o'clock. Got Clemson coming to Doak Campbell Stadium. Now, here's a dilemma for us. We can skip this pick if we want, but the question is, do we go with our guys or do we make the pick just to try and get one right?
I know what I'm
Here's
doing.
what I'm going to do.
I'm going to try to be as unbiased as I can. I'll say that right now.
I am too. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to say, okay? I believe in our guys. I believe in Brock Glenn. I believe that he has the opportunity to play a great game. But I just don't think it's going to be enough this week. And it's hard to say. But, but here's the thing. This is not a Florida State team that is fun to watch. This is not a Florida State team that is desirable to watch.
Tell me about it.
I'm not looking forward to 7 o'clock tomorrow, to be honest with you. But I think, like I said, I think history is going to be made. I think Dabo Swinney is actually going to be able to get his 174th win at Doak Campbell Stadium. I hope Florida State puts up a good fight, but I think Clemson's going to edge us out. I'm so sorry.
Now, let me tell you why. The only, like you said, Jake, it's sad to say, but we just haven't been desirable. And I think the only eye-catching facts about this game is Brock Glenn finally gets his long-awaited start, which Mike Norvell should have pulled a trigger on weeks ago, but it had to come because of a pinky injury that DJ developed against SMU. Now, DJ
developed a broken finger.
It just happened, man.
Look, DJ, I give him credit. He played a decent game in that first half, but then it all came crashing down when Morlock's miscatch, tipped up in the air, caught for an interception, ran to the goal line, touchdown SMU. Very next drive, or got a 3-and-out that could have changed momentum, but then a face mask gave him the ball back. Then DJU on 4th down threw an 70-something yard pick six. It just went crashing down quick. That's when Brock Glenn finally got his chance to shine. But then when he made good plays, the plays were called back from undisciplined holding calls and such like we've seen all year. And against a top dog team like Clemson, who's gotten more and more dominant since that Georgia loss, it's just two teams that are on completely different ends of the spectrum right now. I love Brock Glenn. I love nothing more to see him pull off potentially upset of the year against a night crowd in Doak Campbell Stadium. It's just not going to happen. The Tigers are going to win.
You know, I'm going to keep this as unbiased as possible. The thing that scares me the most is that they don't have to use K Clubbing against us. They can run all over us if they have to. The thing is, Adrian, you said it. Florida State, I think Brock Glenn, like I said, is going to go out here. He's going to play like there's nothing to lose because there is nothing to lose. Yeah. You know, we're going to have the Tallahassee faithful right behind us. Brock Glenn's going to make the most of these 3 starts he's about to get, but we can't have big plays called back on holds, face mask, penalty, terrible unsportsmanlike conduct calls just because of the lack of self-control that's on this Florida State team. The key is going to be able, as well as Lawrence Solfield, he's going to be the highlight man on this Florida State offense. Yeah. He's going to have to make the most of a Clemson rushing defense who hasn't looked great this year either, which I think will give us a chance to kind of run the score. But with Clemson coming to town, they're number 15. Dabo Swinney has a ranker on his mind. So I really hate to say it. I really do. Like, this hurts my soul. But Dabo Swinney, you are not getting the record tomorrow night. Lawrence to Philly is going to have a breakout game. This is going to take a miracle. But ladies and gentlemen, I believe in miracles. I am not sorry, but Chief Osceola's going to plant that spear and Fort will remember tomorrow night as the day the Florida State Seminoles upset the Clemson Tigers to define our program, to define that this is just a fluke year, and Mike Norvell's going to prove that he belongs. Let's go, baby! I plead my case. Now, there is a chance the next episode I'm going to apologize to all the Florida State fans for being drastically wrong. But right now, I believe
Somebody had to do it, Chase. And you know what? By all means, please be right. I will take the loss on this pick.
I will
Please,
too.
by all means, be right.
Florida State, please don't make me look like an idiot. I'm begging you.
All right, moving on. We're going to be rather quick with the rest of these picks till we get to everything. So we're going to got a 1-3 UCLA playing an undefeated Penn State. Penn State. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat this. There's no way to make this sound good. Penn State.
UCLA has been very disappointing in their first year in the Big Ten. Penn State pulling off some close, good wins against teams like Illinois, who's proven themselves. Give me the Nittany Lions.
UCLA went on the road
At Penn State,
LSU.
too. At Penn
Yeah,
State.
Yes.
exactly.
A couple weeks ago, UCLA went on the road, looked decent against LSU, and then looked right horrible against Oregon. Penn State, they look better than what people think. They should have any issues giving the Nittany Lions at home. Shout out to Happy Valley.
All right. 12 o'clock. ABC, ESPN Plus, you have 24th ranked Texas A&M playing a undefeated 4-0 ninth ranked Missouri at College Station. I love this matchup. I think this is going to be a great game, and this is my big upset of the week. I've always been a believer in Texas A&M, and I think this is going to be such a good matchup to see at College Station. Give me the Texas A&M Aggies in a big win.
Jay, we're flipping the same page.
Shout
yet
out
again.
Dude Perfect.
Oh, yeah, big A&M guys, love Dude Perfect. But, Jay, like I said, me and you on the same page. Mike Elko, I love what he's done at A&M so far this year. Missouri should have lost to Vanderbilt 2 weeks ago. Came
100%.
up close against Boston College. Just all around has fallen short of the high top 10 expectations. Hostile environment in front of 110,000 plus. Give me A&M in an upset win, Jake. I'm right there with you.
You know, A&M looks a little up and down, because they played Bowling Green and barely won. But then I liked how they look against Arkansas. But at the same time, Missouri, especially their secondary, and especially watching that Boston College and Vanderbilt game, their secondary is not the greatest. I like that front of the college-chasing crowd. This is another upset that I also see coming. Missouri might not be as good as people remember from last year. There's a lot I still like about these Aggies offense. Mike Elko is going to get his big signature win this Saturday. Give me the Aggies at home.
Huge. All right, we're going to move through these next couple of picks. Are going to be quick. We have an 4-1 SMU playing a 22th ranked Louisville. SMU looked good, but I also don't know if Florida State just looked really bad. In that sense, which is very possible, I still think the Cardinals are going to get a big win.
It's a mixture of both, Jay, but I do like the Cardinals bouncing back from a tough road matchup against Notre Dame. They're back at home, like you said. Give me Louisville.
As long as they don't have turnovers like they didn't get to Notre Dame, Louisville should be fine. Give me the Cards.
All right, we got a CBS 3:30 kickoff. We have Iowa playing at Ohio State. I don't even think this is going to be debatable. I think Ohio State's going to run away with this one. Still my favorites to win the national championship. Give me
We
Ohio
know how bad Iowa's offense is. What do you think is going to happen when they go into the shoe against Ohio State? It's going to be a bloodbath. Give me Ohio State big.
This is the biggest test Ohio State's had all year, and they need a game like this before that Oregon game next week. Iowa looks good defensively, but there's still nothing there offensively. Ohio State's going to take advantage. Also, give me the Buckeyes pretty big.
Yep. All right, moving on. This is going to be a really quick one, too. We have Georgia playing Auburn. This is a newly ranked number 5 Georgia playing at Georgia, and Auburn is coming to play within the hedges. I think Auburn could be great. I think they can end up winning enough games to make a bowl game, but I don't think they have enough for a very ticked off Georgia team right now, losing to Alabama. So give me Georgia.
Looks like we lost Andrew. Andrew's still here. He can still make his picks from here. Georgia, after they're going to rebound from that upsetting loss I say upsetting because what happened in the first half. Auburn has such a bad quarterback situation going right now. Georgia wins big at home. Yeah, give me Georgia big.
Georgia big. All right, moving in to Ole Miss. Number 12 Ole Miss playing at South Carolina. This is my second big upset of the week. I think you have a damaged Ole Miss. Spirits are a little low, and that rowdy South Carolina team is going to be at an all-time high. Give me the Gamecocks beating Ole Miss.
Jake, I respect your pick, but in the words of Lee Corso, I'm going to say not so fast, my friend. I do like the pick, but I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to let his team get upset 2 weeks in a row. It's going to be a really close game, that I do believe, but give me Ole Miss in a really close one. Yeah, I actually talked, funny enough, to a lot of Ole Miss fans that are traveling to the game. They're all very disappointed about the Kentucky loss, but they're also very uplifted by the fact that this Ole Miss offense can stay explosive if they minimize the mistakes. I think Ole Miss bounces back in a big way. It's going to be a shootout, but I like the Rebels in this one.
All right. I'm going to skip through some obvious ones. Alabama, Vanderbilt. Alabama's going to win. Does anybody disagree? No. Okay, moving on. We have number 4 Tennessee playing Arkansas. Does anyone agree Arkansas is going to win?
No, Tennessee.
Tennessee. Give me the Vols. Since we talked about this one, we'll talk about this one. We have Michigan. We have a national championship rematch. Number 10 Michigan playing Washington. I would love to see Washington come out and beat Michigan. I think it would be hilarious, but I don't think Michigan is going to allow that to happen. Give me Michigan in a pretty substantial win.
Washington doesn't look bad at any means, but I think Andrew said it all. Running games would make the difference. Give me the Wolverines.
All right, this is going to be the last one of the night. We have College Game Day. We have the Canes flying all the way to Cali at a very late game. If you want to stay up for this one, then God bless you, but I will not be. I'll catch the highlights in the morning, but I think Cam Ward, I think this Heisman Trophy run that he's in right now, I think this strong Miami team is going to be too much for Cal to win. Give me the Canes in a big win on College Game Day.
I think California's defense is going to stay with him for a little bit, maybe in the first half, but then Cam Ward, that Miami offense is going to light a fire in that second half. It will be close at halftime, but Miami is going to end up pulling by at least 3 scores. Give me the Hurricanes on the road. I think Miami's a little fired up about all the press news that's come out against them about the Virginia Tech game and how it was too controversial and how they should have lost, all this and that. I think Miami has still solidified themselves as a true contender in the ACC. They're going to prove it by getting a big, testy win on the road against a good defense. Give me Miami by 3 points. 3 points.
3 points. Wow.
Okay.
All right. Well, you heard it. You heard it from all of us. We went through all of the things that did happen, the crazy game between Georgia and Alabama. We're looking ahead now, going to College Game Day all the way in California. The Canes are going to be playing Cal. That could be a good game. And then the next week, we have some crazy big matchups, and we're going to talk about all of it next week in next week's episode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, sitting on your couch, drinking your coffee or whatever it may be, but find some time tomorrow to watch some college football as we're going to. Guys, we will see you next week as we talk about the same old thing. Peace up and chow down. Y'all have a good night.